motorcycle group be worthy of joining.
All right, how's everybody doing today? I just want to say that this conference has been just great. It's the first one I've attended, but really hats off to the Bama Carry Group for putting this together. Does anybody out here speak Latin? I'm going to leave a little phrase with you, and I'll tell you in a minute what it stands for. Acta non verba. Okay, I'll tell you in a minute what that stands for. Every year we have a First Amendment rally, what we like to call our pledge and our prayer caravan. We go to every school in Coleman County and spend about 10 minutes at that school saying a prayer for the upcoming school year and also a pledge of allegiance. Two reasons behind that: they don't allow those in school anymore. So that's why we do it. You won't allow it, but we will. We also, every September, we have a Wounded Veterans Ride, raise about $4,000 a year. This year will be our 8th ride. So anybody's interested in that, just look up Sons of Liberty on this. We're a constitutional organization. You do not have to have a motorcycle, although about 80% of our members do have. We enjoy riding. We enjoy brotherhood with other motorcycle groups. We're non-territorial. We don't claim any state, but we do have 8,000 members nationwide. Okay, the Latin that I promised you a lesson on is something that Bama Carry needs to practice every day. Action, not words.
Amen.
Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is none other than Mr. Eric Pratt. I consider Mr. Pratt a very good friend, especially after getting to share dinner with him and his best asset that he has last night, who is sitting at the table over there now. And I can tell you for sure that Mr. Eric married up. So anyway, we have, as you know, we formed a partnership with Guns Owners of America, just kind of a loose partnership where you can join Bama Carry and Gun Owners of America for $35. We have so far sent in about 240 memberships since, what, it's been 6 months, 7 months, maybe? And also, one of the door prizes today is a life membership in Gun Owners of America. So that's a pretty significant donation. And I consider Eric a friend. He's certainly a friend for liberty, and what he says, he does. I've been very impressed with Gun Owners of America, and I'm looking forward to bidding on the life membership for Gun Owners of America that will come up at the end. So y'all be thinking about how much you're willing to spend on a bid for Gun Owners of America. Thank you. Eric, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Well, thank you. It is good to be back here. This is my second time here. I was with you guys last year. It was wonderful. Thank you to Eddie Fulmer and Bama Carry for the invitation. I tell you what, it's been a pleasure working with you guys alongside of you on certain issues. It's been wonderful. In fact, we've been working together on a very important legal case, and I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But first, you might remember a lot has happened since, if you were here last year, a lot has happened since that time. Of course, the meeting was in early February, and shortly thereafter, there was a tragic shooting in Florida. There were some other high-profile shootings throughout the country, and of course, you know, if you've been watching the news, you know the left has been making an incredible push for more gun control at the national level, at the state level, all around the country, and they're trying to convince the nation that there's, you might call it a new kind of manifest destiny taking place, right? Or at least a liberal version of it. You know, it's the idea that they are on the right side of history, that they are going to win because the advance of gun control is inevitable and unstoppable. This is what they want to sell to you. But they want to convince you that you are losing your rights, and so they're going to give you story after story to try to dispirit you. Well, I want to tell you why they're wrong. They are so wrong. In fact, they're, you know, you might say they're high as a kite, because they're totally off on this. But they don't like being told this. You know, I was interviewed by a reporter recently, and she wanted to, this was her main question, you know, since the Parkland shooting last year, was 2018 a good or bad year for gun rights? In fact, it was her contention that it was a bad year for us, a bad year for gun rights. And so I told her straight up, I said, look, with the exception of Florida, we saw the blue states get bluer, passing more gun control, but the red states getting more red, loosening restrictions on firearms. I said there was no popular mandate during the past elections for gun control. Well, she just about fell out of her chair on that. I mean, and we went round and round on this because she wanted her story to make the point that Parkland changed everything, that it ignited a change, and that now the nation is getting more and more anti-gun. So I told her this. I said, look, every month, and maybe some of you have seen this, Gallup publishes a poll. Every month they ask Americans, what's the most important issue facing the country? Well, last October, which was the last month before the election, the need for, or the desire for more gun control was not even in the top 15. In fact, I told this reporter, I said, look, 3 times as many people said that media bias was a bigger problem than the need for more gun control. You see where I'm going with this? So I told her, I said, based on this survey, if you're going to make the argument that there's a popular mandate for gun control, then look out, because there's a much stronger mandate for restricting the First Amendment and restricting your job. I just kind of paused for dramatic effect, and she chuckled and she said, touche. You see, the left wants to dispirit you. They want to make you think that you're losing. They want us to think that we reached a tipping point where the American people supposedly wants more gun control, where we supposedly want the Second Amendment repealed. And so what the left is doing is they give us a constant litany of examples. Every time, there's a fake poll published, the anti-gun media gives us that. They broadcast every anti-gun rally that takes place in the country, even if only 5 people show up for their side. Every time a liberal state passes some liberal, anti-gun measure, of course they're going to, broadcast that, shout it from the housetops. And this is the proof that they claim that we're losing. But see, the truth is actually far different. We're actually, and this is what we're actually seeing, and this is what I pointed out to the reporters to make the point that that the red states are getting redder. Yes, blue states are getting bluer. But here you go. You've got the number of school districts. Last year, the number of school districts arming teachers doubled. I mean, you can go back 20 years or more. There have been districts around the country where teachers could be armed. But in less than 1 year, the number of counties allowing for, or the number of districts allowing for armed teachers doubled in less than a year. That's very significant. That wasn't shouted from the housetops by the liberal media. Last year, after Parkland, more states passed stand your ground laws. More states expanded concealed carry. More states defeated red flag gun grab laws. I'll talk about that in a second. More states defeated those laws than actually passed them. And now most recently, we got the 15th state that became constitutional carry. That's South Dakota. We got to get Alabama in that list. Come on, guys. But did you see the mainstream media making a big deal about South Dakota becoming the 15th state? No, we didn't, right? Because see, they want to dispirit us. That's their whole point. So whenever, New York passes something radical, they're going to tell you about it. But when South Dakota does it, you just see a little blip and then, on to something else. That's not that interesting. But see, the truth is we're actually winning this war for our rights. Now, that's no reason to rest on our laurels. It's no reason to be lazy. I mean, we need to stay active. We need to keep fighting. And at GOA, we, as you guys know, those of you who are members, we try to make this very easy for you, right? You go to our website at gunowners.org. You can sign up there at the top of the page to receive free email alerts. And then we alert you when legislation is coming down the pike that would threaten our rights, or like what we were doing in South Dakota recently when there's good legislation that needs to be supported, then we rally the troops as well. But see, that's how we're going to win this battle for freedom. It's by staying active and staying engaged in the fight. Now, speaking of the fight for our rights, the biggest battles that I think we're going to be facing this year, and I kind of alluded to it already, that's the red flag gun confiscation orders, which they're trying to pass in Congress and in every state of the union. I'd be surprised if Alabama doesn't at least have a bill to deal with that. If you're not familiar with those bills or laws, this is what they do. They allow for your guns to be confiscated, even though you haven't been convicted of a crime, even though you haven't even been accused of committing a crime. There simply needs to be the claim by maybe a family member that you are dangerous in their opinion and you have guns. That's all it takes. Now, you know how a law like that, just hearing that, how that might be abused, right? Right? Well, we've already seen how this has been abused. In Maryland, around the holidays, there was a family argument. Where hasn't there been a family argument around the holidays, right? Well, a distant relative wanted to get revenge after the argument. So she filed for a red flag gun confiscation order, which Maryland has, against the one that she'd been sparring with. Well, police showed up at Gary Willis's home at 5:17 a.m. in the morning. Why they do that to Roger Stone and others so early in the morning, I will never know. But if somebody, you guys are gun owners, and gals, that was generic. You're gun owners, right? If somebody in the dark is banging on your door early in the morning, and all you hear, you don't hear police, you just hear shouting, how are you going to answer the door? You come with a cell phone in one hand and a gun in the other hand, right? I mean, just for safety purposes. Well, that's what Gary Willis did, and he's dead. Police shot him. I mean, yeah, it may have been a misunderstanding, who knows what, I wasn't there, but this is a huge problem where due process is being thrown out the window. And the first time that you ever find out that there's been this order issued against you is when they show up at 5:17 a.m. in the morning demanding your guns. Well, his niece, one of his nieces who was there at that family dinner was just dumbfounded. She said, my uncle wouldn't hurt a fly. She said that argument was just family being family. And yet now we see it cost him his life. That's all it takes. It's just one family member filing that complaint. We need to defeat these bills, not only in Congress, but all around the country and in Alabama as well. Of course, it's a lot easier to defeat these bills before they become a law than when you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, right, in court to try to strike it down. And yet sometimes that's what we have to do. So GOA is fighting a lot of legal battles right now. With the addition of 2 Supreme Court justices that are pro-gun, they had a pro-gun history when they were at the circuit court level. We feel that we have this opportunity, a window right now, to challenge laws at the Supreme Court, gun control laws. And so currently we're involved in 3 huge cases. One of them, as I mentioned, with Bama carry, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But with the first one, the Supreme Court actually recently, you may have seen this in the news, they just voted to hear the case. We're part of we're helping to challenge New York City's very draconian gun control laws. And this is a case that has huge ramifications for other states, because if the Supreme Court follows the Heller decision, the McDonald decision, and says that you have to stick to the text, history, and tradition of the Second Amendment, well, then there's a lot of unconstitutional laws and a lot of unconstitutional judges' decisions that are in jeopardy. So that would be a good thing. By the way, this already happened after the Heller and McDonald cases. Once the Supreme Court ruled on those cases, there were cities that repealed their gun bans. There were states that repealed their bans on concealed carry. I wish it was constitutional carry, but they repealed their bans, and so now all 50 states have some form of concealed carry. So good things happened after the Supreme Court weighed in 8 to 10 years ago. So, this is a window, again, we may not have forever, so this is a huge opportunity that we have right now. So that's our first case. Our second big case right now that we're involved in is one that we're currently appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court. Gun Owners of America is defending a disabled veteran who really got reamed by Eric Holder's Justice Department. Jeremy Kettler is this veteran's name. He refused to pay the $200 tax on a suppressor that he had bought pursuant to the laws of his state. Kansas law says that any suppressor that is made in the state and stays in the state is exempt from federal law. So, yeah, pretty cool, right? Kind of sounds like what happens in Kansas stays in Kansas. Hey, if it works for Las Vegas, why not for the Jayhawks state, right? That's what I say. Well, this is actually a very important law. We helped push that law into law there in Kansas, and we've helped push it into law in other states as well. And we want to see other states, even Alabama, pass a Second Amendment Preservation Act. So we think it's very important to defend this law. Anyway, because Kettler was relying on Kansas law, he purchased a suppressor in 2014, but he didn't register it with the ATF. And believing he was following the law, which he was, state law, he posted a video about his new suppressor on Facebook. Now, in retrospect, that maybe wasn't the wisest thing to do because somebody at the ATF saw that, and the ATF swooped in, and, but here's the crazy thing. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands who hasn't paid their taxes, but, if you theoretically were not to pay your taxes, IRS would send you a bunch of letters, and eventually they would probably garnish your wages. I actually know people that have had that happen to them, like Wesley Snipes, and well, actually he went to jail. I do have some friends that have a little bit of experience with this. I mean, they don't break into your home; they just they'll eventually garnish your wages. Well, not Eric Holder's ATF, no. Not when it comes to gun rights. Rather than just simply requiring him to register his suppressor, they wanted to prosecute him, make an example out of him, to scare anybody who would dare resist federal power on guns. And so Jeremy Kettler, sadly, was indicted. He was convicted of possessing an unregistered suppressor, and now this disabled veteran is a federal felon. So we're defending him. We're not only defending him in an appeal to the Supreme Court, we're actually challenging the very core of the National Firearms Act. Gee, wouldn't that be a shame if the NFA just crumbled to the ground as a result of this case? That would make a lot of us happy. So again, here's this open window that we have now with 5 pro-gun Supreme Court judges. So we're hopeful that if the Supreme Court grants cert in this case, that we'll be able to get his felony conviction overturned, but also that, we get a whack at the NFA. And all in the process being able to uphold Kansas's law all at the same time. So that's an important case that we're involved in. That's our second case right now. Our third big case is the one that we're involved with Bama Carry, where Bama Carry is helping us with this. We're suing the ATF over their regulations banning bump stocks. Now, I would venture to guess that in a room like this, probably most of you get it as to why this would be an important fight. But if anybody's thinking, what's the big deal about bump stocks? They're dumb novelties anyway. What's the big deal? Consider these points. First of all, the ATF ban, not only does it violate federal law, it violates even previous ATF rulings. I mean, this rules that a piece of plastic is a machine gun, which is incredibly ridiculous. I mean, that's like trying to ban smoking by saying a cigarette is a stick of dynamite. It's just ridiculous to make this claim. But think about how dangerous this is, because if government bureaucrats can turn on a dime and ban something that even they themselves for years has said is legal, then think about what's next. Will ammo be the next thing on the chopping block? Firearms, certain firearms, pistol braces, or just, you fill in the blank. What's next on the chopping block? I mean, the principle behind this ruling of theirs jeopardizes all of our rights. I mean, this is very dangerous. So that's one big problem with this bump stock ban. But here's an even greater problem, I think. The language is so incredibly broad, it threatens AR-15s and other semi-automatic rifles. You know, I mean, all of you know a machine gun. You pull a trigger back and it continues to discharge rounds through the barrel until either you run out of ammo or you let your finger off the trigger, right? Well, now ATF through these rulings is saying that a bump stock literally turns an AR-15 or other semi-automatic rifle into a machine gun. They're claiming that the piece of plastic itself is a machine gun and it converts an AR-15 into a machine gun, which of course is, just defies logic because obviously the trigger is still moving back and forth when you're using a bump stock. One bullet for every pull of the trigger. So think about this. What happens with the next anti-gun administration? Let's say it's the Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. Are you losing your lunch yet? Yeah. Trump has already banned bump stocks unless we're successful in the courts. And yet there's all these other items that are out on the market that can easily bump fire or be used to bump fire an AR-15. Things like rubber bands, belt loops, a fast finger. See, if bump firing an AR-15 turns it into a machine gun, then according to the ATF regs, here's the problem. The next anti-gun administration is going to have a choice. Either ban rubber bands or ban AR-15s. Which one do you think Kamala Harris will choose? Right? See, this is a huge problem. But, even in addition to all of this, I mean, think about it. This ban is violating our Fifth Amendment protection, the takings clause, because there's no grandfather clause here. If you own one, you've got to get rid of it immediately, or else you face a $250,000 fine and 10 years in prison. I mean, this is very dangerous. And that's why GOA has made it a priority to file this lawsuit. We've also, in addition, filed a motion for a preliminary injunction, which means that that could get the whole enforcement of it stayed pending the litigation. Our hearing is scheduled to take place within a month, not as quickly as we would have liked, but you can only push a judge so hard, and obviously it's up to them when they set the hearing date. But we have filed this lawsuit in Western Michigan, which, believe it or not, in that circuit is a very pro-gun circuit, which has actually also shown its willingness to push back in many areas against government excess. So we're very hopeful for a good result in this case. So if you want to keep tabs on it, follow us at Gun Owners America on Facebook, on Twitter, sign up for our email alerts, and you'll be able to stay up to date on it. And also, thanks again to Bama Carey for assisting us in this very important case that really is dealing with a lot of important principles. Because we've got to stick together. All different groups like ours. You guys working at the state level and us mostly at the federal level. We got to stick together because certainly the anti-gun left is doing that. I mean, they're singing off the same sheet, and you know how they work it. They point to tragedies, they pounce on tragedies like, the school massacre in Santa Fe, Texas, or Parkland, Florida. But you know what's interesting about that? You know what all those places have in common? They're gun-free zones, right? I mean, what a difference if one of us had been there. Like somebody said earlier, this is the safest place in Alabama today, right? Here's the thing, though. Good guys with guns are stopping mass shootings from coast to coast. Good guys and good gals. Of course, you don't see CNN reporting that, the Clinton News Network. They don't report on these stories. But we see it again and again, right? Last year, 2 armed good guys shoot and kill a gunman who opens fire in an Oklahoma restaurant. A firefighter, before that, stops a potential mass shooting at a South Carolina school. A doctor ends one at a Pennsylvania hospital. A husband on a date with his wife stops a mass shooting in a Texas bar. An Uber driver in Chicago, of all places, stops one on a busy street corner before anybody can be injured. And this is one of my favorites. A woman worshiping in a Colorado church with a concealed carry firearm, mortally wounds an armed invader who had 1,000 rounds of ammunition strapped in. He was intending to commit the greatest mass shooting on American soil, but not one person was killed inside of that church other than the bad guy. That's how you get it done. So those are just a few of the examples from all over the country. I mean, guns, as you guys know, are saving lives every day, every day. So this is why we have to work so hard to preserve our Second Amendment protected rights. I mean, we cannot compromise. We cannot settle for gun control light. You know, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. It doesn't say you can have a background check, right? It doesn't say you can have a waiting period or that you can have a ban on bump stocks or have a Hughes Amendment or an NFA. See, our rights don't come from government, right? They don't come from popular opinion, thank God. They don't even come from a piece of paper like the Constitution, as good of a document as that piece of paper is. That's not where we get our rights. No, our Declaration, our founders hit the nail on the head. Our rights are endowed to us by our Creator. They come to us from God, and that's why they can't be taken from us, and that's why we cannot compromise. Not at all. So this is one of the reasons why GOA is fighting so hard against any and every bit of compromise in Washington, even on issues that might at first seem like, oh, what's the big deal with a bump stock? Well, no, there are some huge issues underlying. So I hope, I know many of you in this audience have signed up with GOA, and I want to thank you. The more people we have here, the louder voice we have in Washington, D.C. We are fighting for your rights. We're fighting for all of our Second Amendment protected rights. I want to just end with this. I mean, my time's about up. So I just want to encourage you, because it's easy to think the anti-gun left is this insurmountable wall. They're so big, how can we possibly win? But I want you to know that they actually fear you more. President Clinton lamented several times that passing gun control cost him control of the Congress. And why did that happen? Because we held congressmen accountable and we fired them in droves during the '94 elections. More recently, President Obama whined that his greatest frustration was not passing gun control, and he said this several times. But why couldn't he? Because congressmen feared that we would hold them accountable at the polls. Well, a couple of years ago, a very liberal magazine, The Daily Cost, said this: "It's the gun owners of America that keeps the left awake, clutching their comforters in fear." I love that. But see, here's the point. It's not Eric Pratt that they fear. It's you guys that they fear. The left fears you. They fear the power of the grassroots, because that's what Gun Owners of America is. That's what Bama Carry is. The left fears you. So be encouraged, folks. This is a good day for liberty. Thank you, and may God continue to bless this nation.
By the way, that's the only no compromise national gun rights group there is right now. Amen. Just so you know, okay? Including the big one, the NRA. I'll go ahead and say it. They folded on that, and I was very disappointed in it. This next young lady is going to come speak to us. How many of y'all remember what happened at Kent State many years ago? Sad. The first time that I saw anything about Miss Caitlin Bennett was when a picture surfaced, her graduation photo actually, and I thought, yeah, she's not going to be a communist, and she just graduated college. She made it through. As a matter of fact, I believe she has a t-shirt that says that. But anyway, all y'all know who Caitlin is. She's been in the face of many people, socialists, communists, and a few other undesirables, I'm sure. Would y'all please make welcome Caitlin Bennett.
So it is true, I have a shirt that says I survived college without becoming a communist. It is true that I have stood in the faces of actual communists on campuses. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you guys about today is what's going on college campuses. You guys probably haven't been on a college campus in a very long time. And there we go, I just lost all my followers. But that's great because I'm here to tell you what it's like and what's in jeopardy, and it's all about our rights. This is my boyfriend Justin, my fiance Justin. I got engaged. My bad, I'm still getting used to that. He kind of talks with me everywhere I go, and then at the end of our talk, I kind of wanted to get questions and answers from you guys. Either about what I think about reaching out to young people, anything I said in my speech, or if you want to know how my anatomy class was during my time at Kent State, you can ask me about that too. So, if you guys know that every single gun law is an infringement, I don't have to sit here and tell you about that. So that's not the direction I want to go today. I think Eric Pratt did a very good job of explaining that to you guys. So I want to kind of just tell you my story. And I'm going to pass the mic off to Justin because he's going to tell you about something that happened at the alligator farm in St. Augustine this week. A day before we got engaged, someone that worked there threatened to throw me into the alligator pit. He wanted to feed me to the alligators simply because I support the Second Amendment. And I'm going to let you talk about that.
All right, so pleasure to meet everyone. My name is Justin. So like all good boyfriends and fiancés, I look out for Kate on a daily basis. And I like to scour the internet to see if there's any, she gets a lot of hate, more than a lot of people typically do. So I like to go on the interwebs to see, all right, who's threatening her today? So I was up at 1 a.m. on, I believe, Tuesday night, searching her name on Twitter, when I came across a rather odd tweet from a gentleman who calls himself the Alligator Dude. And he said, "That Kent State gun girl came into my work today, and I had to resist every urge in my body not to push her into the mouths of 250 hungry alligators." So I stopped and read that about 10 times before I really understood the implications of that. And then I got a little mad, so went on Google, alligator farm in St. Augustine. Okay, who runs this place? Let's send them an email and let them know what their employee said. And I got him fired 7 hours later. So. But I think the most telling thing about this isn't even necessarily what he said or the reaction of the farm, which is great, obviously, that they took a stand for Kate and for our Second Amendment rights. But what was most telling was afterwards, so just to step back for a second, the director of the alligator farm, he invited us back the next day to tour for free, and he said that when he fired this gentleman, he tried offering him some life advice and said, you're gonna have a tough time trying to get a job after saying this, especially at a zoo. I believe what you should do if you want to save your career is go back on Twitter, apologize for what you said, and maybe I'll offer you some help in trying to find some new employment. Did he take that advice? No. Instead, he doubled down, said that he didn't think that he deserved to be fired, and was sharing from other people that still want to throw her into an alligator pit. So that's kind of where Kate's gonna go today and tell her story, which is a little bit crazy.
So don't bring an alligator to a gunfight is number one. So when I started school, I originally went to Bowling Green State University, which is by Toledo, Ohio, and I realized that wasn't for me. So then I transferred to Kent State, and I still thought, is this school for me? And it obviously was for me because I had so much fun being on such a liberal campus. The power that us conservatives have over liberals is so amazing. We can just engage in our free speech and they lose their mind. We can engage in our Second Amendment rights and they lose their mind. It's like we control them and it's so empowering and it just flies right over their head. They don't get it. So I've actually been advocating for gun rights on college campuses for a while now. It's been a few years. And my very first event that I ever did was about campus carry. We had empty holsters on our persons, in our backpacks and all that stuff. And then we didn't tell anybody about it until the end of the week. And then we posted pictures, and we invited the anti-gun group and all the liberals on campus to come have a discussion with us. Did they come? No, they called the cops on us for having empty holsters on campus. And guess what their reasoning was? It's the implication of what could be in there. We were scared for our lives. And so obviously the campus police did an investigation and found that none of us had guns on campus because we follow the law. And that's the problem, is none of us had guns because we follow the law, but criminals don't follow laws. So they can come all willy-nilly onto campus, and we have nothing to defend ourselves with. And they still didn't understand that. So what I really didn't understand, furthermore, is the same students who called the cops on us for having empty holsters because they don't want guns on campus are the same people who complain about rape culture on college campuses. So one, rape culture does not exist on a college campus. It's completely made up. It doesn't exist. But let's pretend it did. Let's pretend the narrative that it did. And we can engage with these people that, yes, there's a rape culture. Why wouldn't they want women to have guns on campus to protect themselves from rape? The only thing that's going to prevent a woman from being raped is a gun. It's not pepper spray. It's not a blue light on campus. And it just goes right over their head. It was so frustrating. We need to arm women on college campuses, and we need to do it now. So we fast forward a little bit to my senior year, and right at the end of my senior year, my last semester, is when the school shooting happened in Parkland. And of course, everybody sympathizes with what happened there. It's awful. We wish it would have never happened, but it did. And what I saw come from the aftermath of that is David Hogg and his group, March for Our Lives, was able to rally thousands of young children and teenagers and young adults to rally in the streets for gun control. I was like, holy crap, what's going on? He's brainwashing people, they're brainwashing everybody. So I said, where's the other side? I saw no one in the mainstream media getting coverage for being a young person that didn't believe in gun control. So I was like, well, okay, I'll do it then. If no one else will, I will. So I took a stand and I said, enough is enough. And after being in the dean's office a couple times through my senior year because students called me a Nazi for engaging in free speech or for being pro-gun on Facebook, I don't know if you guys have ever had to tell a dean at your college that you're not a Nazi, but it's super awkward and it's super inappropriate. It shouldn't have even happened. So after all of that, I decided to organize an open carry demonstration on my campus before I even took my photo. I invited some people that didn't attend the school because I'll tell you guys the laws in Ohio. So in Ohio, you can carry on public state colleges and universities if you're not a student. So Joe over there can, go to Kent State right now and carry his AR-10 or his AK-47 or his Glock. And it's okay, it's legal. But when I was a student, I wasn't afforded those same rights. And that is a problem. And I don't know who made that law or who decided that that was okay. It's completely backwards. You don't afford the people who spend their time on that campus the right to defend themselves. But if you're just a visitor, then obviously your life matters. It's such an insulting policy for a school to sit there and say, well, you spend your time here, your life doesn't matter as much as Bob down the street who graduated 50 years ago. It's insulting. So with my open carry demonstration, I had about 50 armed people come to campus within a 3-week span, so I'm super proud of myself for that, and it went great. And everybody talked about how this is the safest place to be in Alabama right now. With 50 armed people at Kent State University in April, that was the safest place on campus to be. And it was so true because nothing happened. No one wanted to come and start anything with any of us because we were carried. They knew that we would be able to protect ourselves. Do you want to talk about anything with that?
Well, actually, just a week before she had her open carry demonstration in April, we were out on Kent State University campus organizing an event, kind of like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the online personality Steven Crowder. He goes to college campuses and does a lot of Change My Mind events. So we sought to do the same thing at Kent State, and we held an event called Gun Control Equals Gun Violence, Change My Mind. And Kate and I she was doing an interview at the time with the school TV station when we got a call from our friends who told us that a student there assaulted one of them and broke his $1,000 camera. And that's, again, just kind of alluding the current state of affairs on college campuses and how brainwashed these students are, that they're so offended by someone putting on this display and supporting your right to self-defense that, they're just going to kind of prove your point for you.
Exactly. I mean, and I said on Fox News, the very first national interview that I did, I told them about, and I told everybody that was watching Fox News about the assault that my cameraman had. And I said, if we would have been armed, that wouldn't have happened because he would have thought twice about assaulting someone. And obviously you don't shoot someone just because they broke your camera, but it was the fact that firearms are a deterrent to violent crime, and assault is a violent crime. And that's the whole point that we were trying to make. And of course liberals were like, oh my gosh, you would shoot someone for breaking a camera. No, that's not what I said, but they don't get it anyway. So before my open carry demonstration, obviously the whole school got wind of it. The entire university, every student that went there and every parent that signed up for emails got an email saying, there's gonna be an armed group on campus. Everybody stay safe, stay inside, blah, blah, blah. Like what? Are you gonna warn people before a criminal comes on campus with a gun? No, so it's super insulting. So once the students got word of this, they organized an anti-gun protest to protest me specifically. Talk about empowering. I had students out there protesting my voice, my message. So in turn, what they were doing is kind of showing everybody that there is a pro-gun student at this campus. There is a conservative student at this campus, and it just drove other conservatives out from their hiding spots, which is great. So thank you to them. I still thank them to this day for giving me all that attention. So they put duct tape on their mouth. They did us all a big favor that day when they protested. They put duct tape on their mouths. And we have a video of it up on Liberty Hangout Facebook page. I went there with my microphone and I was like, does anybody want to explain what you're doing? They had signs about free Palestine. They had signs about white feminism, and they had signs about the patriarchy. But the most telling was the signs about Black Lives Matter. Black lives do matter. So why are they not advocating for black students to carry on campus? It does not make sense. It's the same thing with the feminists who complain about rape culture. The most important thing you can do for a group of people that you advocate for needs more freedom or needs to stop being marginalized or oppressed is to tell them to get a gun and protect their lives. That's how Black Lives Matter. And that's what we should be telling the black community. Their lives do matter. So get yourself a gun. So obviously the event went off great. I said it was the safest place to be on campus, but it wasn't enough. The administration didn't care. They thought, okay, she got her, little open carry group. She's done. They were dead wrong because they're still dealing with me to this day. So I said, what can I do to really drive it home that the school needs to listen to me and all the other students who want to defend themselves on this campus? And I said, Justin, let's, make my cap about gun rights. Come and take it right on my graduation cap and I'll wear it. And we're like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then Justin goes, let's take a rifle to campus. You're no longer a student. You can carry the day you graduate. And I was like, should we do it? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then we decided, yes, we would do that. And we had 3 rifles on campus that day. No one cared. We had an officer following us around, which, whatever, better safe than sorry, but we didn't need him there legally or even to protect us, because that's what a firearm is for anyway. So we took the picture, and it's kind of sad that, it even went viral. It went viral because of the political climate in this country surrounding firearms. It is sad that I'm standing up here today, although I love speaking to all of you, it's sad that I'm standing up here because I took a picture defending the Second Amendment, and I took a picture with a rifle. There's nothing controversial about a woman carrying a rifle or supporting the Second Amendment, and there shouldn't be anything wrong or controversial with a woman carrying a firearm on a college campus. But that's how we are today. And I kind of want to talk about, for the last part of this, about the gun community and how we need to all stick together, because the fact that my picture did go viral and made so many people mad is because of the young generation today on college campuses. I just told you guys all about, these violent socialists on campus that don't like gun rights, which they can't have guns to push their socialist agenda anyway, so that does make sense. But I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm kind of nervous up here, and the lights are hot, and I'm sweating, so excuse me. So like I was saying, it's sad that it went viral, but I'm super glad that it did, because now I have this platform to where I can inspire young people who already think like me to come out from under their rocks and say something. I have been right on point about this since day one. I do not care about the people who disagree with me. I do not care. I do not care about changing their minds. And that might seem harsh. It might be like, Kate, how are we gonna win over this fight if we don't change minds? We change minds, that's fine if we change the minds in the process, but we win by bringing out the people who are scared to stand up for themselves. If I had someone like me telling me not to be afraid to say what I want or be myself or say that I'm a conservative or that I own guns, I would have been doing this a long time ago. But I was scared because it's intimidating. You can lose your jobs because you're conservative, or if you threaten to throw someone in an alligator pit, but you should lose your job for that. But this is where the unity part comes in. And I want Justin to talk about this because after I took my photo, I had so many death threats, which is super ironic because you don't threaten an armed person because it won't end very well for you. So I don't know what they were thinking. But he's the one that handles all of those nasty messages I get, and when I see them sometimes, it breaks me down. It hurts knowing that so many people want me dead or they want me to be raped. It's not gonna happen because I carry, but it sucks knowing that they want that to happen to me. So, it's amazing that he deals with all of them. I just want you to explain a little bit about the messages I get and everything about that.
Yes, I don't really think that Kate or I really understood the scope of what the right in America is up against until we took her graduation photos, because it's been every single day since that we've seen what kind of a beast the left truly is. From the day she took her picture, it went viral not because people that liked it were sharing it, but because people that didn't like it were sharing it. It went viral because someone on Twitter was mocking her, calling her the next school shooter, and it got millions of likes and shares. So that just kind of shows us where we are today. And even when we go to college campuses, we were at the University of Cincinnati just a couple of weeks ago interviewing students, and Kate was standing on the sidewalk and there were students yelling, push her in the street, push her in front of a bus, beat her up, and there were some students calling for a school shooting at the Covington Catholic High School where those teenagers just wore Make America Great Again hats when they were in Washington, D.C. It's disgusting. And then it gets even worse when you go online on social media where everyone wants to be a keyboard warrior, where I could just be wishing her a happy birthday, and I get people in my inbox telling me, go kill yourself. I hope you and your girlfriend die in a car crash. Or the other day, I proposed to her, a very beautiful moment in our lives. I put it on Twitter, I didn't even tag her, I didn't even say her name. It blew up with someone saying, imagine wanting to marry this dumb B-word. And it got 300,000 shares on it. It's crazy. And it just goes to show, kind of back to Kate's point, that we should have no interest in trying to change these people's minds. They can't even figure out what gender they are. So, That's the sad state of affairs in this country, and it just demonstrates why it's so paramount for us to stick together, because these people are violent, these people are vicious, these people are brainwashed, and they're going to stick together in everything that they do. So why can't we in order to combat that?
So that leads me into my next point. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about unity within the gun community, because I kind of expected the liberal backlash. What I didn't expect was so much infighting within gun owners. It's ridiculous. I had gun groups, like national gun groups, coming after me because I open carried on college campuses. But they support, the right to carry on college campuses as well. But just because my rifle was out in the open instead of having a concealed Glock in my waistband, they threw me away. They didn't want anything to do with me. They didn't want to hear my message. They didn't want to share my message, even though we believe in the same thing. And I was dumbfounded. We just told you all this about these college kids not appreciating free speech or the right to Second Amendment, the right to defend yourself. So why are we going after each other? And I put on Facebook the other day that I felt myself kind of drifting away from the gun rights issue because we are so mean to each other. We are, instead of fighting politicians in Washington that want to ban, mag sizes bigger than 5 rounds, that's what we should be fighting, but instead we're attacking Terry because of the brand of scope he put on his rifle. That is ridiculous. There is no reason why we should be dismissing people because of the type of gun they carry. Let's be thankful that they carry it all and they appreciate their right to self-defense and everybody else's right to self-defense in the audience. And I can't say it loud enough, I can't say it more times, I can't say it enough in general that we have too much to worry about that's going on with our politicians and our lawmakers to be fighting about who has the biggest gun collection or who has the most expensive guns or who has the most perfect stance. Who cares? We need to stick together because we are really we are a minority in terms of being vocal about what we believe in. Sure, gun owners are a majority in the country, but with the way that the Democrats, they want to lessen the voting age to 16. Why do you think that is? Not because they want to secure our rights or secure free speech, it's because they support gun control. They've been brainwashed in schools. They've been brainwashed from social media and from all these Hollywood actors that get paid off to say these certain things and convince them that we should give up our rights. That's so terrifying. There is no reason why we should be fighting amongst each other. And I hope that sticks with you guys today and spread that message around. If you see someone on Facebook arguing about guns, message them. What are you doing? Why are you mad over his brand of gun? You see what's happening in Washington? So that's what we need to focus on. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Just stop fighting. Just stop fighting. Stop compromising too.
I think one more thing that's important to add is because we were touching on the issue of why we should be sticking together and why we shouldn't be afraid to kind of, stick it to the left after all these years and what they've done to us. And I just want to say that us on the right for years, we've been afraid of, well, what's the left, what's the mainstream going to think of us? And that's something too that we have to leave in the past. And I want to tell you why. How many of you in this room have been keeping up with the news with what's been going on in Virginia? Has that governor stepped down yet? If he was a Republican, would he have? And that's your answer why. Because we're always expected to be held accountable.
Often did. He thought we, gave a hoot about his sexual orientation. So once he realized that no one was paying attention to his sob story about being gay, he starts telling us that we should support abortion. And I'm like, I thought we were just learning about the Taj Mahal. No, I'm being lectured about, this gay guy supporting abortion. I didn't care. I didn't need to be brainwashed into believing that murdering a baby is okay. That was totally just uncalled for. I also had another professor, a chemistry professor, that after I graduated, I found him on a thread talking very poorly about me, saying that I should have been expelled before I graduated. This was after I took my picture, And he was saying that he doesn't want students to have guns because if he gave them a bad grade, they would shoot him. There is nothing stopping a student from shooting the professor right now. The sign isn't going to stop that. So if a student was going to do that, he would have already done it, or it still might happen because there's nothing there to stop him. He knows that he'll get away with it because everybody will be disarmed.
I'm Damon Jones. I'm a retired chief of police out of Florida. I've seen you on TV. I commend what you do.
Thank you.
And I'm also with Self-Defense Fund. And out of my pocket for you and you, I will buy both of y'all a year of Self-Defense Fund.
Thank you.
Need it. You need it because you may have to defend yourself and the police may be very likely to throw you in a cage. You need it. I'm going to pay for both of you. I just need to get your information to Mr. Larry over here, our director, and I'll take care of that.
Thank
I
you
applaud
so
what you
much.
do.
Thank you. It's amazing. Thank you.
I saw on your Twitter feed where the guy said he was going to throw you down and rape you.
Yes.
He threatened to do that. How do you deal with that?
So what he's talking about a video is I was at a Trump protest and I was interviewing them, kind of exposing how crazy they are. And this old man looked at me and said, well, first he touched me like this. And I said, don't touch me, sir. And he touched me again. I said, do not touch me. And he goes, I have a right to touch you. I have the right to throw you on the ground and rape you. And I was like, oh my God. First it caught me off guard. I was like, did this liberal just say he wanted to rape me? Aren't they the party of Me Too and anti-rape? And there's, you know, a male, what do they call? What do they call the toxic masculinity problem right now? That's toxic masculinity if I've ever seen it. So how do I deal with it? I film it. I film it and I put it on the internet and it goes viral and we expose these people for who they really are. They are anti-rape. They're just, you know, violence when it fits them so that they can come across as, oh, we're peaceful and they're tolerant. No, they're not. So if it ever happens to one of you guys where you get into contact with a crazy person that's acting like this, film it and put it out on the internet. You know, send it to organizations or send it to us and we'll expose these people. So I had to kind of take a few steps back and I was like, oh my gosh, and I looked at my cameraman and I was like, you get that? Keep filming. Then he ended up following me around all day, but thank God I was carrying, so I wasn't that worried. But thank you guys, I think my time's up. I really appreciate it.
There's some scary stuff happening on college campuses. Oh, wait a minute, this is your notes. I got the wrong notes. It's easy to fool an old guy sometimes. Just don't mess with us. We're going to take about a 15-minute break. So y'all fellowship, and if you did not get a door prize ticket, be sure you get one. Everybody that came in today should have gotten one door prize ticket. I assure you, we say the best for last. Well, maybe I shouldn't have said that, but the best is still coming.